Welcome back to the BearDown Abroad Podcast with me. And I apologise for my background. I find myself in Stockholm at this moment in time. But we've got a fantastic show ahead of you today. Don't mind your World Cup soccer matches. Don't mind any of that. Bears on holidays, but we don't go on holidays. Tony, we got a great guest today before Tony hits the go. We got Ben Devine. Going to talk about everything about the camp, about Caleb. But you know what the thing is? He said he's going to be here for the whole show. Poor lad doesn't know what's ahead of him. Tony, hit it.
Welcome back, guys. It's episode 2 of season 2 of the BearDown Abroad podcast. Thanks very much for joining us again this week. It's good to have you with us. And as Anne said, we've got a special guest this week. We've got Ben Devine joining us from You're from Chicago, is that right, Ben?
Yes, sir.
You are all the way from Chicago, man. How are you getting on?
Oh, I'm doing great. Wonderful. I'm probably in better weather than some of you guys. It's a beautiful day here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that, man. It's been overcast and cold pretty much all day here. So, but that's every day in Scotland, to be fair. And I don't think you're much better off with the old Swedish weather, are you?
No, we go north even further into Stockholm, and it's meant to be summertime. It is in its hole.
Well, hopefully we can do something today to try and make us feel a bit better. And obviously we're talking Bears, so we are going to feel a little bit better anyway. Lots of stuff to talk about. Really going to have a look at, minicamp. We've had OTAs recently. Last week, we didn't really talk too much about that. So maybe we'll get back into that and see what we think of what we've kind of heard over the last few days. Obviously, if any of you guys have got any questions for us or for Ben, get them in chat and we'll get them answered at some point during the show. So let's just crack into it then, Ben. So obviously, we've just had minicamp. The next time we're going to see the Bears is going to be training camp. It's going to be a few weeks away. Looking back over the last few days, and then obviously back to OTAs as well. What's your biggest sort of takeaways been from what you've seen and what you've heard from the Bears?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, Tony. By the way, that is a cracking good hat. I'll tell you what, I love it. That is a nice one. I'm going to have to look for that.
I'll come back to that in a minute, Ben, but I'll let you finish what you were going to say.
All right. No, on the, I think the takeaway, and most observers would have probably agree, the biggest takeaway was the difference in the offense from last year to this year. I mean, completely different. I mean, so I don't know if I've been around a team that was, at least the offense was this ready this early, which, we've not had a lot of good offenses through the years, but I'll tell you what, it is encouraging to see where this can go. And it's encouraging to see that the offense as a whole looks like it's ready to level up. I mean, it's not just Caleb Williams, although we'll probably get to him, but I think the receivers really came in with a little bit of a mission this offseason. Hopefully it carries through. I mean, I know we haven't even hit training camp. We're not even into the, battling for positional spots yet. That's what Ben Johnson said. But there's no doubt that the receivers are really putting in a lot of extra work. I mean, they were there on the field before and after practices. So I'm encouraged where the offense can go. And I'm encouraged what Caleb Williams can do with the offense year 2, and really everybody. This is everybody's year 2 in this offense. So I think that's where the hope's going to lie, where the improvement and growth's going to be.
Yeah, I find it amazing as a Bears fan since 1985. I find it amazing that we're talking about a Chicago Bears team with an offense that you have full trust in. Yeah. And we lost our left tackle in Ozzie Trapillo. We lost our center, Pro Bowl center. And normally in my history of watching the Bears, you automatically go, Jesus, that's us in real trouble. Instead, we're like, yeah, but we've got Ben Johnson. We got Caleb Williams. We got all these extras. We've got Joe Tooney in our offensive line. Once he stays fit, we're all good to go. Joshua Jackson, Garrett Bradbury might do a job. I trust Garrett Bradbury with the offensive line coaches. And then we go and get Logan Jones, and suddenly we get more weapons, and we get Xavier Thomas that now looks already to be someone interesting. And for me, it's almost I'm living in a different dimension. And I get when fans get worried about the defense and get worried about, we didn't get anyone in age, we didn't get anyone in D-tackle. Lads, we're living in a new era. Yeah. We are living in a new era where we may concede 30 points next year, but we'll score 32. And I think that's something that is insanely exciting for me as a Bears fan. It's so much looking forward to what they're going to do, how they're going to bring it up. And yeah, I totally get your point. If you're not excited as a Bears fan now, getting ready for this season, then I don't think you ever will.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right about the just the excitement on the offense. And we'll see where the defense is. I mean, people aren't expecting a lot because last year, but I think we forget what that turned into. I think the playoff showing was pretty good. In fact, of course, we had a couple guys that came back healthy. I think you saw when Kyler Gordon was there healthy, when Jalen Johnson was at least playing decent. I mean, you could see that Dennis Allen could put together a good defense. I mean, I think they gave the Rams the toughest defensive game that they had all year. And I'm not saying that they're going to come out of the gate like that. I'm not expecting that. But I think that they're capable of putting up a decent stat line there and holding their own on defense. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned just a few minutes ago there, Caleb Williams, and I suppose every conversation with the Bears nowadays has to start with Caleb Williams because, we've got our franchise QB, the man's on the cover of Madden, all the mad things are going on in Chicago that haven't ever happened before, and we're loving it. So looking at Caleb Williams, one of the quotes from this past week that really stood out to me was when Caleb had said about last offseason and how he felt like he was drowning, in terms of the expectations, the information that was being thrown at him, all that kind of stuff. And then you sort of combine that with, this year, how he's feeling a lot better. A lot of people would have looked at that and thought, last year the guy was drowning. Should Ben Johnson have went easy on him? Should, all that kind of stuff, given the fact it's a brand new system. What are your thoughts on Ben Johnson's approach with Caleb Williams last year and how that is then feeding into this year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it finally clicked about halfway through. Caleb said a couple things and Ben said a couple things that if you piece it together, you can kind of see a whole picture. Last training camp, Caleb said, now he said it this offseason, but he said, about 2 weeks into the training camp last year, he was kind of out on Ben Johnson. They were not seeing eye to eye. And it took till about week 11, he said, about that Minnesota game, that he said, I started really believing, just said, I'm buying in on everything. And I don't think Caleb was ever pushed in college like he was, or, I don't think he was. I think they just gave him the freedom because in reality, that's his superpower. Do whatever you need to do, whenever you need to do it, get us out of a hole, make a big play. And Ben Johnson is, of course, been focusing and honing on his accuracy. Now this offseason, that's going to be the goal in 2026. He's really been pushing that. They chart every single throw, and they give it a grade, A, B, C, D, F. And so every throw of training camp is going to be graded. Every throw, how on target he is. And they still are setting a 70% completion percentage goal. Yeah. Now, I don't know if they can ever hit that. I don't think that's something that they'll hit this year, but I think that's the goal. That's what they're going to shoot for. And if he can raise that to mid 60s, I think that you're going to see one of the leaders for probably stats in the league. I mean, I think he was only 8th in passing yards last year, 8th in the league, passing yards or something like that. And passing touchdowns, he was close to top 5. So, he makes a little bit of a jump there in completion percentage. And then even if you limit the drops on the receiver's end,
Yeah.
And some of those, they are a little off target too. So if you work those numbers, I think that there's a lot of improvement for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. I think he's bought in. Going back to your question, I think that pushing him was really good for Caleb Williams to get them where they are now. Anyway,
I think what's also interesting is people have forgotten that it's also Ben Johnson's rookie season as a head coach last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolute genius offensive coordinator. But Tony and me spoke about it. There was some issues last year with some of those play calls. Some of them were just strange, and it got better because he's a rookie. He's a rookie head coach. He's got loads of other things to worry about, not just I'm focusing on my offensive play calling. So throw in all those things in, it made sense. I also, and your point, Ben, is 100% correct, is the drops. Some of those really, really big, and ones that come to mind. There was one by Zacchaeus against, I can't remember, I think it was Washington. I can't remember who it was, but it was he would have gone 80 yards.
90, that was all the way.
You'd have had Rome. You had Rome against the Rams, which was the most easy catch you could ever make. Mm-hmm. Look, wide receiver's going to drop the ball, and as you say, it's not imperfect. But I think whenever I look at stats, I always look at stats and go, yeah, they're not really telling a full story on both sides, by the way, because sometimes you see, Caleb's yards running was amazing, and you're like, yeah, they were, but he missed some easy throws that he could have thrown. That would have been the easier way. And it was really interesting. One of the coaches, I can't remember who it was I think it was his offensive or his quarterback's coach, was talking about that. It was like, you don't need to be Superman all the time. You can do the basic things, and then when you get to a point that you're not tired, then you become Superman. And I think that's the next grade up from my perspective on Caleb. Isn't just the percentages and the stats. It's actually doing the real Tom Brady-esque stuff, which means get you down the field until you get to a position you can be Superman, and then you're ready to go and off you implement. And I think I'll ask you this question on that, just on Ben Johnson himself. Would you think what I said was fair about the fact that there was issues, not issues, but there was some kind of like rookie mistakes that would be made from any new head coach? And what can we expect? Like, is it fair to say that we might be looking at a top 3 or 4 head coach by the end of next season?
Yeah, I would agree. There were definitely a lot of, I think we can all agree there were points left on the board just because of I don't know if it was just the aggressiveness on fourth down sometimes. I don't know if it was, just the play calling a little bit at times. They did have some difficulty, especially early half of the year. I thought they had difficulty on those short yardage situations, converting them. And I think that caused Ben to move a little away and start trying to be a little bit more creative and try to fool teams a little bit. And that I don't think those percentages were that good. And I do think that there's only room to improve, especially to learn from your mistakes. And Ben Johnson, I think the league really respects him. All I've heard from everybody is how much people are thinking he's going to be one of the best coaches in the league, if not already is. And I think that he's going to have a lot of growth with these guys. And with these guys bought in, I think they really are. I think they're really hungry to win. I think it's going to make everybody step up their game. I mean, I know that the practices are hard. I'll tell you, the practices are tough and they're intense. And they're not. A lot of the veterans don't like the training camp. I think Montez Sweat just said it last week. He said, "I'm not looking forward to it. It's going to be brutal." But I think it's good for them in the long run. I mean, you saw the results last year. How you started winning games, especially as the season progressed. And the cool part is even the young guys bought in, but it took a little bit. You started seeing Loveland and Burden really start taking off second half. And you hope that continues, that ascension on that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think you have to hope that the upward trajectory continues. I suppose Ben Johnson has now sort of set himself quite a high standard to try and surpass again the next season, which could work to his detriment, especially if you maybe, you look at the strength of schedule this year, and it's games are going to be tougher. Yeah. You've lost quite a few players who were leaders on the team. How much does that impact you? Who are the next guys that are going to step up? There's a lot of questions there that we've got for this year. I think no doubt talent-wise, you certainly look at the offense and you think, all right, the receiving core, including Colston Loveland there, is looking really good. A combination of that with Caleb Williams improving and Ben Johnson improving his play call, and you think, yeah, absolutely, we're setting ourselves up there. But at the same time, as I mentioned, we've lost a few players there who would be considered leaders, more experienced voices in the room. Looking back to the sort of changes that we've had in the players, the guys that have left and the guys that have come in, do you think the Bears are in danger of taking a step back in certain ways? Or do you think, the guys that they've brought in can certainly take them on to that next level? Because that's the whole thing with this. You can't stand still. You need to move forward. So
right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the offense is, and I'll got a couple answers here for the offense anyway. I think the offense showed last year that they have really. I mean, I think Ben Johnson can run it to where he can kind of make it work, even if there are some severe injuries in areas. I mean, the playoff game when they had to move Tooney over, and then they had to have who they had McFadden, I think, had to fill in at the guard. And I didn't know a lot about McFadden, but he played very well, and that's a testament to their coaches. But this year, I think when they lost DJ Moore, and I was always kind of thinking that was going to be the move if Burden took off. See, once you saw the rise, that was kind of a natural slot to fit him in, save on salary. Although he had their big plays, I do think that you got to trust what Ben Johnson visions here, because he's shown that when he kind of pegs a guy, and they pegged Loveland, they pegged Burden, they chose them in the draft. When they had a plan for them, they really started showing what I guess a lot of people didn't see going into that draft and even coming out of it. And I'll tell you what, Loveland and Burden, you hear nothing but the highest praise from Ben Johnson. And if you listened even through the mini camps, that was pretty universal. So if you want to get excited of where they can improve, that would be the area. They've set themselves up well with depth as well. They've got depth across the board, and adding Khalif Raymond. I think Khalif Raymond is going to be underrated in that wide receiver room. If we're just talking receivers, it's not only his skill on the field, but he's now like that de facto veteran that they need. I mean, Rome's only going to be in his third year, and everybody else is, going to be a lot younger. Ja'Day Walker's in his second. Luther Burden's in his second. You got a rookie, Xavier Thomas. So you need somebody in there that can kind of show them this is how we play. This is what Ben Johnson expects, and this is the level of maturity that we're going to need to have. And so I think you got to be excited about the weapons. Sam Roush, just bringing in a tight end 3, that surprised a lot of people too. I thought going into the draft, man, if they pick another receiver and tight end, and sure enough, they wanted another couple of them. And I think Ben Johnson has a purpose and a plan for that. They're not just throwing darts at a board, and they've got a purpose and a plan for that. And I think that's what if you get excited about Ben Johnson's vision, then you have to trust what he's doing.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And you mentioned the point there about DJ, and everyone loves DJ in Chicago. Any Bears fan, he's been, and also it was really nice to see him go to the Bills. Really good for him and his family, and he'll be a success there. He's a superstar player. But I think it was the right move for Chicago, and I think it was the right move for the Bears. We needed the money, we needed the cap space, and we have guys coming through. And I think that's the question mark, because what is now being done by our front office is now you're seeing that as a regular thing. So now you're seeing that we got Garrett Bradbury, and most likely Logan Jones will take over him. You've got Cole Kmet, and probably Sam Roush will take over him. Mm-hmm. For me, there's a question mark in 2 years' time around Roma Dunze and Luther Burden. You're not going to pick both of them. there's a real kind of competition in that scenario. You've got cornerback position where Malik Muhammad comes in with the idea that Tariq Stevenson is out the door. There's a longevity perspective and long game put with this, which allows your rookies to develop at their speed. People seem to forget that Colson Loveland wasn't the Colson Loveland we saw until around week 5, week 6. I know he was injured, but he wasn't anywhere. And I remember Ozzy Trapillo was being like talked about as a bust because he was just told, you just relax and learn how to play your game. That's how you develop good players. That's how you develop scenarios later on in the season. I find it funny when people say Logan Jones will start week 1. I would be shocked if that happened. Absolutely shocked. Because everything that Ben Johnson and his team has shown is that, yeah, you'll get your chance, but the likelihood, because the game is so, or the sheet is so difficult to learn and so hard to develop, it'll take you weeks to get used to it. So no matter how smart you are, no matter how many games you've played, that will give you that chance. So I think those rookies are probably not going to play. In fact, for me, the ones that I think will stand out outside of Tiedemann straight away will be Xavier Thomas, because he's a kick returner to start with, but also he's that gadget player, and Sam Roach, because they'll use him to bulk up the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of those moments that are coming with Chicago Bears fans that we need to realize that, as you rightly said, Ben, there's a lot longer game. Let's move quickly over to the defense, though, and let's look at what we've done there, because I think there's some interesting moves that have been made, and that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. For example, Gallimore is an interesting one at D-tackle. Van den Berg might be an interesting development player. The return of Jalen Johnson. Is there anything in training camp that you've seen from a defensive perspective that has made you just kind of open up your ears a little bit? I know you mentioned it earlier, but is there anything you've noticed that is standing out for you?
Yeah, it's hard to see with the defensive line. I mean, Sweat and Booker have looked very, very good, but it's tough to see without pads, and they're not going to hit the quarterback at all. So we'll see what that comes. One thing I've noticed, and I knew this was going to be key going into the offseason, and they made it a point to add and address defensive team speed. That's what Dennis Allen really was lacking last year on the back end, even in the linebackers to a degree. So that's why you saw Devin Bush, and that's why you added 2 new safeties, Kobe Bryant, Thieneman. I think if you watched the practices, you could definitely see the speed was greater. And if that's combined with good instincts as well, then I think Dennis Allen can use them better. The other thing that I think is really going to be helpful for the secondary, actually 2 things. The safeties, obviously key, being interchangeable. Dennis Allen loves those interchangeable box safeties. And that's really where the NFL is going to. The NFL is really trending toward having a lot of disguise. I mean, the old NFL was free safety back, strong safety, mid or playing up in the box. Now it's kind of completely disguised, where you can even rotate one and into some sort of a slot or nickel cornerback position. And they all have those abilities, Kobe Bryant and Thieneman, just with their coverage and speed. So I think Dennis Allen's going to blitz a lot more. He's got a lot more creative packages that he can use with disguises. The other thing that's really going to help their defense is Jalen Johnson. And he looked like the Jalen Johnson from 2 years ago. And if that, just the hope is that we can have that continue getting into training camp. If he can stay healthy and have a big year, and I think he's going to be having pressure on him, because if you look at his contract, he's not owed $1 after this year.
Yep.
So they can actually get completely out of his contract. I was surprised he wasn't one of those guys that they, restructure just to create some cap space. And in theory, they could still do that if they wanted to, because they could probably free up about 15 to 18 million in his cap space this year. But they didn't. What that means is now they didn't push any back years. He can really, you can really put pressure and say, "Hey, this is your year. Show us what you got." And I'm hoping for one of those years that he kind of shows that he is the cornerback one that he's supposed to be. Because if he goes down again, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about Jalen Johnson there, because I was going to ask you as well in terms of the defense and actually just the team in general, because obviously the way that we're bringing in players now, we're building a stronger depth in the team. There's been guys that have missed out due to injury. There's been guys that have just not played as well as we thought they were going to play when they came in. Big free agent signings, for instance, all that type of thing. And Jalen Johnson, the question I'm going to ask you, Jalen Johnson for me is one of the guys on this list. But other than him, because I know you mentioned him there, is that who would you see on maybe if you pick one player on either side of the ball, who would you say has got the most to prove this year in training camp and then obviously heading into the season as well? I think there's a big list there personally, but I want to take on that.
Yeah. So I think Darnell Wright's still improving. If you're looking at the defensive play, he was mentioned there. I think if you're looking at the defensive players, Grady Jarrett made a promise. He said, I'm gonna show everybody this year. I mean, at least he was making those proclamations. And I don't know if people knew quite, he did deal with several injuries throughout the years. They weren't really big enough to keep him off a lot of the times. But I think his goal is to kind of be there and to kind of give them what they have. I'm interested to see what Shamar Turner brings, because Ant hit the nail on the head with these young players. They were all nothing almost midway through the season, at least through the first 4 weeks, the bye week. We were like, where are the rookies at? Like, what are they doing? And then they started coming along very, very well. Unfortunately, their highest defensive player, Shamar Turner, had the season-ending injury. And Ben Johnson even said, we were expecting him to take that kind of leap like the other rookies. We were expecting him to continue that projection. So the sad reality is he's not available yet. We'll have to see what he looks like when training camp comes. I think a lot of that is still yet to be determined on at least the defensive end. Dayo Odengbo was back, and that was well ahead of schedule. So I know that he's
motivated.
He's one of those guys, that we're looking for as well.
He's definitely motivated.
Motivated,
100%. Yeah.
Now, I slag him off, but you got to give him credit for coming back, as you said, earlier than expected. I just think you hit the nail on the head earlier on about speed. I'm so excited by just the fact that we are going to come at teams from all over the place, and I think Bears fans have got obsessed with where's our edge, where's our Max Crosby, where's our defensive tackle, where's this, and I think you will find us blitzing from everywhere. And I think you'll see, and that's why I think that's where the real frustration on Kyler Gordon is coming from Ben Johnson. I think the real frustration, and you can hear it in his voice when he's talking about Kyler, is that I think he knows that a fit Kyler Gordon will give us 4 or 5 sacks a season, because he will just come from everywhere, because they'll be so worried about different areas of where it's coming from. Now that's where you're going to start getting fun. And no Kyler out there. We don't have somebody like him to just slot in there. We just don't. And I think that's where the frustration when it comes to Kyler's injury is going to be. Tony, though, your question was around the people that impressed me. I was actually going to mention Grady Jarrett's interview. I think it's great, but no more talk. He's getting paid a lot of money. He needs to perform now. Dayo's come back. Fair play to him. He needs to perform for the contract he's getting paid. I find it hilarious when people are saying, we need to go out and get an edge. We need to go out and get a D tackle. We need to spend money. Look at the money we've spent on this defensive front already. We have spent a lot of capital, like a lot of money. What is it? 25 on Sweat. We've got, 18 on the Odengbo, 17 on Grady Jarrett. Like, what's that? 60 million on players who, look, they're okay, but you're not going to win a championship if they can perform okay. So therefore, where we are getting that speed from everywhere else, Tiedemann, Kobe Bryant, even Tariq Stevenson looks like he's coming a little bit back to it. Jalen's coming back to it. It's all that pace. And remember, this defense is going against one of the top 10 offenses in the football league for a long period of training camp. And that's just exciting as I can't wait. Tony, what about you? What's impressed you about the camp? What's the things that you've been hearing about that stand out the most?
I mean, for me, I think it's the biggest thing is the offense starting to sort of mature a little bit. Obviously you've got the core tools there, the ability there. There's no doubt about it. But the biggest thing for me is then Caleb Williams taking that next step, and not just as a player but as a leader. You had him last year being treated exactly the same as anybody else in the team by the coaches. And I think that's been beneficial for his development, but it's also been beneficial for how the rest of the team view him as one of the guys. Is then put him in a great position to then just step up himself and be the leader out the back of that, rather than just being anointed a leader because you're QB1, So for me, that's a big thing that sort of stood out to me. I think it's evident as well from what we've seen in terms of the players that we've added, that we've got a ton of speed on the offense and the defense now. And I think that's a big thing that we were missing last year, which is that raw speed. That makes all the difference in these games. That split second less time it takes to do something has a knock-on effect. So I think that's going to be an absolutely huge thing. For me, though, in terms of players they've got a lot to prove, I mean, the list is long that I've got here, but I mean, you look at guys like Braxton Jones, a lot to prove there, a lot to prove. He was a guy that had come out the draft a few years ago, and I was a big Braxton Jones guy. Raw tools there, they were all there to be a starting left tackle in the league. Just needed the experience, needed to bulk up a little bit. Didn't really materialize into anything. Really, the only reason he's back with the Bears on this kind of 1 year deal is because Ozzy Trapilo is out for the next few months. Otherwise, the likelihood would be he wouldn't be back. And if he was, he probably wouldn't be getting paid as much as he is now. So, listen, opportunity is knocking there for him. Can he do it? Can he? Because if he doesn't, and the left tackle becomes a problem, then that becomes a problem for the offense, and that becomes a problem for scoring points. So, we've taken a gamble bringing Braxton Jones back, I think. But, it was who was available at the time. Didn't want to push the boat out for anybody else. Fine. We'll see how that goes. In terms of other guys, Jalen Johnson, I think, obviously, Jalen Johnson is he's our number one corner. There's no doubt about it. But didn't really have a lot of time in the team last year. And out the back of that, maybe missed out a little bit. How does he actually integrate himself into the system? Can he then go in there and stamp his authority on the defense as I am cornerback one in your team, Dennis Allen? Do you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Tyreek Stevenson opposite as well. And actually, guys, just this question from Dean here from a wee bit earlier on: which position group remains the biggest weakness? For me, there's big questions over the cornerback position, generally speaking. You mentioned that Kyler Gordon's going to be out for a bit. We actually don't know what's happening. There's no information being released really, other than the fact that he's got this soft tissue injury. Jalen Johnson missed a lot of time last year. He's coming back. Tyreek Stevenson was okay at times. There's a lot of questions there. I mean, Malik Muhammad's come in. How big a part does he play? I think there's a lot of questions there. I'll let you guys answer that. Just before you do answer that, though, I just wanted to very quickly mention the hat that you brought up earlier on, Ben, which I'm modelling just now. This was sent over from our friends at Tallybrand and Rob specifically. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it.
Mine's on the way, by the way. He messaged me today. He promised me mine's on the way.
Yours on the way. Guys, check out the website. There's a ton of stuff on there. It's not just these really cool hats. There's a ton of
the white hoodie.
It's cool as fuck. Check it out. But listen, we have a competition going on at the moment. If you want to enter, you can win one of these lovely hats. Not this specific hat, I'm keeping it. But I have other ones here to give away. So what to do? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And like and retweet the post about it as well. And we'll announce the winner on Friday. I think we'll probably do that. But jump onto this website, tallybrand.com. Cracking stuff you can find on there.
Here's Rob.
back to this question, guys. So I've mentioned the corners as a position that remains. I would say it's definitely a concern as opposed to a weakness. I think if Jalen Johnson's good, it's not necessarily a weakness, but it's a concern. What other position groups for you guys? I'll throw it back to you, Ben. Here, is there? I know you mentioned the D line there. Is it that one specifically? Is there anywhere else that you have real concerns at the moment?
Well, okay, so I'll give you one on each side of the ball that I would be a little concerned. Again, you hit the nail on the head with the corners, though. And Kyler Gordon he's really the straw that stirs the drink. Dennis Allen, when he came in, I think it's when he came in that they gave Kyler Gordon that extension. And then he just really wasn't able to play much last year. And that's going to be a bummer if he repeats that. But if besides cornerback, that defensive tackle, I know we get caught up on the defensive ends and how many sack numbers that those are. I was a little disappointed in the run stopping last year and their ability just to kind of keep the run at bay, especially a lot of the early half of the year. And so I'm looking for an improved defensive tackle position. They brought in a bunch of names. You mentioned Gallimore and you mentioned Street, and they brought in some guys that can kind of fill the holes. And I know Dio probably will move in there on the third downs, and perhaps even Turner if he's healthy. But a defensive tackle is one that I would watch carefully. I do think that that is just as big of a need as their defensive ends. Sometimes the defensive ends would get the pressure, but the quarterback would step up. There wasn't a lot of third down pressure from the D tackles. So I would say defensive tackle, I'm so a little bit concerned about. On offense, I'm just worried about really not anything specific, just the depth of running back. You have one of those guys go down. I'm talking about DeAndre Swift or Kyle Monangai. And you're in a little bit of a pickle, and I don't know if they're counting on Roschon at all, but they have a very thin running back room right now, and so that'd be one that I would just keep an eye on. They may look to add though, especially after training camp. Teams will be making some moves, and I'm sure the Bears will be a little bit engaged in some of those talks. What do you think, Ant?
Yeah, I think the one interesting one about running back is I've said it for a few weeks now. I think Xavier Thomas is going to get a lot of showing at running back. I really do.
I think he can, yeah.
I think they'll just try and do what they did with DJ last year. I just do. I think for me, I'm with you on defensive tackle. I've lost patience in Gervon Dexter. I just have, and again in the camp, he's just slow off the get off. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. He'll be a very good football player. He's got a contract next year, no matter what, and he'll play for the Falcons or the Cardinals, or he'll play for one of those teams. And I think we need a better player at that position. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm proved wrong, and he shows me wrong, but that's my thought. My worry position, it's left tackle. I was never a Braxton fan. I know Tony was more of a Braxton fan than I was. I just think he gets hit on the bull rush. I think he gets, and we're going up against real quality edges, and Parsons when he gets back, Hutchison, so many other teams that have weapons, and they are going to go on the left-hand side. And I think you'll find we will have to then put a lot of 12 personnel based on protecting Braxton.
Yep.
And that's fine, but it does take away the opportunity for those weapon and deep balls and deep threats as much as they could have been. So I think that's why I think Roush was brought in off Ozzie Trapillo's injury. I think Logan Jones was brought in off the fact of we lost our centre, and I think Sam Roush was brought in off the back of needing more protection on the left hand side of the left tackle. I think you made a point about going back to just a shout out, by the way, Ian Wheeler. If you remember him from a year ago, He looked awesome in UCL. Yeah. He was like, I watched the highlights of it, and I was like, good for you to come back from two ACLs, or at least one anyway. Mm-hmm. So good for him. Hope he gets back in the league. And also, we said that Tony Fields a shout out. I know he was a linebacker that the Bears have taken today to cover some injuries. I think from memory, Tony might have actually interviewed him back in our days. So if Tony Fields is listening to the show, get back on the show. But no, so there is going to be moves still made. There's a lot of moves to be made. But isn't the great thing about it is we haven't got conversation in June where we're going, oh my God, we've massive holes at linebacker. Oh my God, we've massive holes in wide receiver. Oh my God, our quarterback, hopefully he'll make the push up. Our coach, oh my God, we used to have Matt Eberflus as our coach, Jesus. But like we have so many positives looking into this season.
Right.
And do you know what I was thinking today? For the first time in a while, if you're coaching against the Bears, you're going to sleepless night because you're like, they can get at you. Booker improved massively. If you're just looking at the defensive side of the football, Booker improved massively. Our defensive backs are faster, so it's going to be difficult to go over the top of us now. And I think taking those deep shots are going to be more difficult.
Let me ask you a question on that, right? You mentioned Austin Booker, right? So we're looking at the pass rush, right? I know everyone's talking about defensive tackle, right? But at the end of the day, pass rush is hugely important, right? Obviously, Montez Sweat last season, what was he? 10 sacks. First time he had double-digit sacks ever. I think Booker had, what, four, something like that? 4 or 5?
4 or 5, yeah.
This is his third season. First season, the one and a half, I think it was. Do you guys buy into the Austin Booker as the guy across from Montez Sweat hype? Or do you think that it's wishful thinking? And I'll let whoever jump in with that one. Because for me, I have huge concerns. I think Austin Booker is he'll absolutely contribute to this team. I've got questions of whether or not he makes that step up, though.
He's an edge 3 for me. He's an edge 3. So he's the edge you bring on next. So he's not the greatest on run. He gets to the quarterback and he annoys people, but he's an edge 3. So if we were able to go out before the start of the season and get someone opposite Montez Sweat, and let's say it's someone who is all edge or who's all pass defense, or Joe, that's all he's doing, and you bring Booker on at edge 3, I'd be very happy with that. I think Austin Booker could do a lot of damage as that next edge up in that system. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate, because right now he's just a guy, he's not like a 1 or 1A. Yep. He would be more like a 2 or a 3 on a normal team. Mm-hmm. If you go around the league, there's probably a lot of Austin Booker quality type guys. They can get their pass rush and they can put some pressure, they can get a sack on occasion. But I think what the Bears they're going to need some high-end defensive linemen, and you're right, and they put so much money into this. They have one of the top 10 paid defensive lines in the league, but they don't have one of the top 10 production defensive lines in the league. And so that's kind of where they were at. And I think this year they kind of had to eat some of their mistakes. Next year probably will be a big watershed moment where you can get rid of, 3 or 4 large contracts and then reset or reassess. So that might be where they're at. But yeah, Austin Booker would be like a 3 or a 4 to me. He's a good rotational player,
and that's not a bad thing for getting.
No,
we got him in the 4th or 5th. I can't remember which one it was. That's not a bad thing, and that's not a dish on Austin Booker. I think none of us are dishing Austin Booker. I think all of us have seen progression in the last year. I think he was a bit last year. I think this time last year we're like, God, not a bust, but he'll turn into a Daniel Hardy type, good on special teams. And he really, really came out. I think a lot of Bears fans got sucked in a little bit by the massive hits on Jordan Love. Yeah. And I think they loved that, pardon the pun. But also there was a lot of really good power stuff. And I think I listened to, was it Hogue or Johns, I can't remember which one said it, that they were watching tape and a lot of people started changing their double teams from Sweat onto Booker, which shows the development that the kid has made. And he's an opportunity to push on even more. And they've shown a lot of faith in him. But as I think all 3 of us have just said, I just think we need that next level player to take that 1 to 1A scenario and then allow Austin to come on and do his thing from everywhere. And I think that's where I get my opinion on Austin.
Well, and the fun with Booker is, number one, the Bears haven't drafted too many defensive ends that they've developed. I mean, go the last 10 years. He's, I mean, there's not many that you can really go to. That's why Shamar Turner, carried such promise. He was a 2nd-round pick, even though they moved him from defensive tackle to end. So he's still a complete unknown right now. So that's why you kind of hope there's something there. But the other thing is, I think Austin Booker is your best speed rusher right now. I think he's your best speed. And that's why, nothing against Sweat. Sweat's a good, solid, all-around defensive player, and he needs to really be on the field as much as possible. But he's not beating you with speed. He's more just a good power rusher, and especially against the run. So that's very good. Although there were times last year that I can remember saying in my head, boy, I think Austin Booker might be your best defensive lineman in this game. So there were a couple flashes that were there, and you hope those flashes become much more prevalent. And that's where the hope is. But again, until we see it, that's all it is hope.
Ben, do you think that's how we start the season? Austin Booker across from Montez Sweat, or do you think something else?
I would say so. I look at pretty much what you have is what you're gonna get. I don't expect anything major, but I wouldn't be shocked. The only thing that has actually let me just say this. The only thing that kind of has shocked me is how they didn't go after a big name defensive end this offseason. They could have made it work, and they could have pushed some contracts back, but they didn't. They kind of just played their chips well. And I don't know exactly how. I mean, they were in a little bit on the Max Crosby thing. Don't know to what degree. But I don't know if there is a veteran defensive end that comes available. I'm sure that they'll maybe kick the tires on some of these guys like the Jadeveon Clowneys that are out there, but I don't know if that's going to move the needle much for me. Those are guys that are going to play, 20% of the time. So it's not going to probably be a game change type move.
I said this last week, and I've thought it for the whole of the summer. I think that the Bears supposedly next year's draft is meant to be awesome.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to have as many picks as you can. Yes. So I think the Bears looked at it and went, we've got a crap load of money put into our defensive line. We're going to have to do it again with a Max Crosby or whoever. And we're not willing to give up all this money on hope. And then they would have seen up the road, up north, where they put all that into Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons does his ACL. Now, anyone can do it, get injured, don't get me wrong. But I think that might have played a little bit into the game because they've seen the first-round picks that they have picked, Darnell Wright, Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, they're hoping with Tiedemann that they, Colson Loveland, obviously, they actually picked really well in the first round the last 4 or 5 years. So they wanted to develop it that way. What did surprise me is they didn't get anything in the draft. Now, whether it fell to them the right way or we spoke about this last week, I don't know. But I think what's the next step for this team is I still think they're ahead of schedule. And now they've put themselves into a position. I do think they'll make some sort of move. And I just don't know what that looks like. Jordan maybe, Jadeveon Clowney. But as you said, is it going to move the needle too much? Or is it just kind of paper over cracks? I think, again, our defensive success is going to come from the secondary. I think we will be coming from everywhere. If you think the Vikings blitz a lot, I think you'll find he will blitz from everywhere.
I agree.
And therefore, that's where the pressure comes from, because that takes the pressure a little bit off and puts a lot more focus on trying to solidify the center. And that will give the opportunities you're hoping for the outside ones. And that's where you're hoping Adengbo will work a little bit more. That's why I think Gallimore is going to be an interesting one because he's got speed. I think Van den Berg is interesting because he's got speed. And you're going to hope that there's going to be coming pressure in a collective rather than having that one superstar or those two superstars getting 10, 12 sacks.
Yeah, and either linebackers, like I'm interested to see what Devin Bush is going to do when the pads come on, because he was a playmaker last year for Cleveland, formerly a top 10 pick. And I wonder if Dennis Allen can get what he had last year in this Bears offense. And one last thing, and maybe this is a little nugget to what you were saying, Ant, but Keyshawn Elliott, we didn't see him much. He's one of those. He's a rookie linebacker that they took, but I think he had 8 or 9 sacks last year, and he is phenomenal at blitzing. And I think that may be something, you may be onto something. If he ever gets in a rotation, that may be something that they can use, is his speed on the blitz.
Absolutely. Just talking about kind of the team in general, and obviously we've got a while to go. We're going to have we're going to have training camp. Players will be added, players will be dropped, etc. For you guys though, are there any kind of potential cut candidates that maybe people aren't thinking of? I know it's very early, we're only in mid-June right now, but in terms of the way that the roster is constructed now, in terms of the players that have maybe been brought in last year or whatever that have kicked on and really contributed, does it push a lot of guys further down the line? And I'll start with yourself, man. Like, is there anybody for you that really sticks out as this guy might not be on the team come August time, and that would be a bit of a surprise?
I'll give you 3 that I think I'm confident are going to happen, and I'll give you 1 that I think might be a wild card, and it'll be a shock actually when I say the name. The 3 I think are going to happen. I think Roschon Johnson won't be back. I don't think Ruben Hippolyte will be back, and I think you might find someone like Terrell Smith might have a problem at cornerback, because I think they're going to go out and try and get someone else in there. The one that I think will be surprising, and I'm keeping an eye on, is Theo Benedette. And my son is called Theo, and I love Theo. I love Benedette. I love what he's done, how hard he's worked. But they did not want him, as Ben said earlier. When push came to shove, they did not want him. And I think if Jedrick Wills is anywhere sort of close to being what he was before, and Braxton Jones are fighting for that left tackle, I think what you might find is they use one of those 2 as your swing across. And Theo might be in trouble, because I don't think he's big enough to move inside. I don't think he is trusted. He obviously isn't trusted because he wasn't playing in that big game. And I think you might find he might be my surprise candidate. Unfortunately, because he's my son's favorite player, because it's the same name as my son. But I think that might be the unfortunate one.
Ben, what about yourself?
I mean, that left tackle, Kirana Magaji, would probably be another.
Yep.
That would be, you just can't keep them all. So, yeah, you're right. Either Theo Benedette or Kirana Magaji is definitely, I mean, one of those guys has to go. Maybe both, perhaps both, depending on how, Torpillo is going to be. Okay, so let me give you, there's a lot of fringe guys, but let me give you a couple that would be a surprise. I would not think that this could be that, but you're right about Hippolyte. He has not showed much at all. And look at the people that they brought in. I mean, Jack Sanborn, they brought in a rookie. Yep. They brought in Bush. He's going to be against the numbers there, and that's going to be difficult for him. I would say that look at a surprise cut / trade candidate, Tyreek Stevenson. Yeah. I don't know if now, I hope not. I doubt this. But even in the just the OTAs, they were picking on him, and I don't know if that's because Jalen Johnson was looking so good on the one side, but he did not look so great. And to be honest, I don't know if he is beloved by Dennis Allen. So if you're looking to swap something in and out there, I don't know. That could be a possibility. I don't know where they're going to fit Cam Lewis into this whole equation here. I mean, is he going to back up Kyler Gordon? Is he going to back up at safety? Where's he going to be put? So some of this will be ironed out in training camp. But I think you were dead on about the left tackle going to be an interesting competition. Cornerback 2 is going to be an interesting competition. Wide receiver 3 is going to be interesting. I think you're right about Bradbury. They need somebody there who knows what they're doing until Logan Jones is ready. And that probably won't be at least until midseason or later. So, what else? Who else would you be thinking there?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the names that you guys are throwing out there. I think, Ant mentioned them right away there. Roschon Johnson would be top of my list, especially the way the running back room is kind of developing now. You know, you might even get to a point where you look at Kyle Monangai surpassing DeAndre Swift at some point for running back one, which would be an interesting development at that point. Then you're like, well, how much are you paying Swift? You know, is that, you know, something, you know, I personally would keep Swift because I think he's makes really, you know, great contributions last year. I think the biggest concern for me in all of this chat, though, is that the guys that we're talking about are not necessarily low round picks, you know, like even Hippolyte. So he was a 4th round pick, right? Fair enough. But still 4th round, like you still want to try and get guys that are going to contribute in some positive way for a long period of time. You know, he was only taken last year. You know, we're talking about maybe letting him go already. Roschon Johnson, obviously, relatively high round pick for him. Tariq Stevenson, 2nd round pick. You know, Amagaji, 3rd round pick. Yeah. And then you start to go back to it and you think, Jesus, like, what's the evaluation here if we're now thinking 2 years down the line of getting rid of some of these guys? You know, like, and fair enough. I think we. The Roschon Johnson situation, Swift has been in there clearly number one. There's no doubt about it. Kyle Monangai has just been a revelation. But when Roschon Johnson's been given the opportunity, it's just not been there. And the reality is he's a short yardage running back. You know, he's a guy who's going to throw his head into people to try and go over an extra yard or whatever, and that's great. But you know what? Kyle Monangai can do that, and he can do all this other stuff as well. So, you know, it negates the need to have guys like that on your team. And then obviously they signed Salvin Ahmed, and they've got Britton Brown, and I think they picked up an undrafted rookie as well. Can't remember his name, but you know, there's with the running back room, it's what have you done for me lately? That kind of situation. And for me, I think Roschon Johnson absolutely would be number one in my list of guys that I think probably would go. Amagaji is a big one for me because it's like, well, you know, the guy's been injured for a long time. It's like, you know, we've always said that the best ability is availability, you know, and if he's just not available, what's the point of having him on there? Would you guys think Kyler Gordon would be something like, you know, say, you know, he comes back from his soft tissue injury, but the Bears think this keeps happening.
Kyler Gordon.
So on you go, man.
Kyler Gordon will not be a Chicago Bear this time next year.
I don't think so.
I'm very, very confident that he'll play this year, but it'll be the exact same as Brisker. Right. I think they've already made their decision that Kyler Gordon will not be a Chicago Bear this time next year. So if he does really well, they get a bigger trade value. If he doesn't, I think the money is diddly squat. I just want to pick you up on, Tony, something else you said, though, about the high picks. I am not the biggest Ryan Pauls fan. We both know that. We've all said it. But for every Tariq Stevenson, he's got a Kyle Monangai. He's brilliant at picking near the end. Austin Booker was a 5th round. Kyle Monangai was a 7th round, right? So it's the crazy thing about Ryan Pauls. Outside of the 1st round, which he always seems to hit on, he is awful in the 2nd and 3rd, usually, right? And it somehow comes back to save himself in the 4th, 5th. That's why I think Van der Berg might be really good, because he gets a 6th round pick. Yeah. Because that's the way Ryan Pauls seems to, on a coaching team or something somewhere, someone makes these clicks and these seeing things. All right, Bear, listen, what's the story, my good man? Got to get you back on as well, especially with game time. Anyway, I just think that it's a weird scenario with Ryan Pauls. It's something that I think he's almost got a bit of Tourette syndrome or something, where he just seems to just want to do the mad thing in the 2nd and 3rd round and waste a 2nd round pick on somebody or do something, and then he goes and saves it by getting a free agency out of nowhere. Like Gardner Johnson was brilliant for him last year. Andrew Billings around 2 years ago. Joe, it's the same scenario. It's the same thing that keeps going on, and it's both infuriating and kind of fun, if I'm weird.
Yeah, but there's the thing though, man. Like they were talking about Jaquan Brisker, 2nd round pick. We're talking about Kyler Gordon going 2nd round pick. Do you know what I mean? Like it's constant, man. Like we have to start asking questions here, and then hopefully this doesn't spell anything terrible for the likes of Logan Jones. Hopefully that works out good, because we need a centre moving forward, and Bradbury is only going to be there for the year. Berlissimo, you're absolutely right. Burton, Trapilo were pretty damn good. You're right. You're spot on.
Fair point.
I think with these higher picks, certainly, round 1 and round 2, you want to be trying to have a better hit rate than he's currently having. But yeah, it'll be an interesting development, I think, as time goes on. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to just touch on as well was, in terms of the offensive line, big changes that have happened there. But the one constant that we've had, and a great first round pick by Ryan Poles here as well, is Darnell Wright. And then for me, probably outside of Tooney, the best offensive player on that line. What do you guys think? Darnell Wright contract extension before the season starts? Do you think we're just going to push the button on that? I think you need to. Yeah. You need to just get it done. Dedicate yourself to that guy. What Ben? What are your thoughts on Darnell Wright and what he sort of brought to the team and developed over the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, Ben Johnson was even talking about it just a few weeks ago, how they might even flip the offensive schemes to kind of shift toward the right side of the offense. Be kind of almost assuming that he's like their left tackle, and then putting their help on the right, like they said before, which just does tell you that he's being honest about his left tackle situation. But it does also put a lot of confidence on Darnell Wright, that he believes that he is left tackle quality, elite level tackle. Just he's playing the right side, and he keeps ascending. I think last year he cleaned up a lot of the penalties. He was really struggling the first couple of years with penalties, but I think he much improved last year. And his play has really improved. I think this is the offseason for the extension for him, sometime in training camp maybe.
Yeah, shout out as well to Berlissimo. Whenever I think of Darnell Wright, Berlissimo, who's in the chat, was jumping up and down. I've never seen anyone as jumping up and down for him. He was on him when no one was talking about Darnell Wright to the Bears, and he was all over it. So he's watched the tape, and Darnell Wright is everything we want. He's probably the best offensive lineman we've drafted in my time. I think he's right up there. He's been absolutely everything you could do. And Ben, you're 100% right. He's worked on the penalties. He's worked on his timing. He's got a lot of really good help from Jackson right inside him. He's got a lot of really, really good things to see. And I think he's going to get a $100 million plus contract pretty soon. And I think he allows us then to just fold everything around us. And we're going to start attacking, as you've rightly said. I think we're going to see a lot more scheming outside of him. He's also so athletic. He's so athletic. Like, he gets to the second layer. His hits are solid, man. He is solid. And to be fair to Braxton Jones, when Braxton Jones gets to the second level, his hits are solid. And I think that's really encouraging for what we do. And the big fear, obviously, with anything is injuries. But I love to see the way our offensive line, as a unit, seems to be really working. You mentioned earlier, Ben, about McFadden just coming in seamlessly against the Rams of all teams. And I think you're going to find a few more of them, whether it's Logan Jones, whether it's the guy we drafted last year, Luke Newman. No one's talking about him. And I think there's a few more that could be falling behind that. So much to be excited about. Tony, what about you? How are you paying Darnell Wright?
100%. Yeah. All day, every day. You pay your good players and you keep them, and the Bears at the moment have got themselves in a situation where they do have a bit of a long-term headache in that sense, and they need to pay a lot of good players, but you'd rather be in that situation than you have been, how we have been as a team for the last decade and a half or more, pretty much. But at the end of the day, right, we've got Caleb Williams on a rookie contract just now, so we need to maximize every other position by spending the money where we need to spend the money. You can't let a guy like Darnell Wright go. You're obviously going to re-sign him. It's going to cost you, but good players cost a lot of money, and it just has to happen. Can't think of anybody else at the moment other than him in terms of potential guys that you would have a look at providing a new contract to. Just now, he's top of the list. Get that done, and go from there. But the Bears, obviously, they're not. They don't have a lot of cap space, generally speaking, either. So, I don't see any big name signings coming in. But then again, who knows? Because as we always say, or some of us say anyway, the cap is a myth, and things can be moved around, and they can make stuff happen if they really want it to happen. So watch out for contract restructures as well. Maybe that'll give you an indication that something's going to happen. Interesting wee bit of news I've seen the other day. I meant to mention it last week. The Bears are actually doing a summer tour in the United Kingdom. So for anybody who's watching, as I know a lot of folk in the UK watch, they're going to Manchester, Loughborough and Liverpool, doing some flag events, flag football, youth football, different fan community events. I don't know anything about it other than that. I just seen it on the Bears website. So I thought I'd mention it just in case anyone missed it.
Can I throw out something? The last 2 years they've done it, 3 years they've done it. Tremaine Edmonds was last year. He's gone. There was another one the year before was gone. And I don't even want to mention the wide receiver that went out in year one, who we draft. We don't even want to talk about him. So maybe we got to be careful who we're sending out Chicago on this tour. I have no idea who you should send out, but just be careful on that one. If you see Kyler Gordon, if you see Kyler Gordon or motivated Dio arrive in Manchester, Liverpool, and Loughborough, then I wouldn't be looking at their contracts for too long. Do you know what's amazing? We've come to the end of the show and we haven't mentioned we have some sort of quarterback. We haven't mentioned him once.
We talked about him earlier on, did we not? Did we not talk about him?
Oh, I can't remember mentioning Caleb's name. This is how insane.
Has it been that long?
Rest of the Bears outlet. Ben, thank you so much for spending an hour and 6 minutes of your time talking to a Scottish man and an Irish man in Sweden. Tell us where people can go find you, what you're working on, and what you're getting involved in.
Yeah, well, I got a little bit of a break here until training camp, but you can follow me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at just Chicago_NFL. And we'll get right back to it. I mean, we're in the midst of the terrible stadium saga, and we'll figure all that stuff out, I guess, when it comes to. But there's always drama here in Chicago. It's in some way, shape, or form. And but I could talk Chicago Bears all day, and it won't even feel like time passed. So I love it, guys.
Ben, we'll definitely get you back on.
You'll notice we haven't talked about the stadium because we refuse to talk about the stadium. We didn't talk about it last week. We're not talking about it. See until we see shovels in the ground, as they say.
Yep.
We're just leaving it where it is.
Leave it. Hey, we'll find out in due time. That's just how it is.
One quick question for you before you go. Are you tuning into the World Cup? You've been following the States?
Oh yeah. I watched the US, 4-1. They pulled away. I don't think they have any long-term hope. I mean, I just like rooting for them as a fan, but I got a couple buddies of mine that are really big into Spain. So they got me rooting a little bit. They're Barcelona fans. And then I got to root for Messi. I mean, he's got to go out on top. So, I don't follow it too much. It's just every 4 years it gets a little bit big, but
do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
Go on to any Boston TV channel or Boston Twitter or anything like that. The Scottish fans have invaded the city. And
Really?
They had a hilarious one where they went to Fenway Park. They walked to Fenway Park from Boston City. There must be around 10,000 of them. Turned up at Fenway Park and changed the whole stadium into Scotland. And just go on to any YouTube channel and go Scotland fans invade Boston. And it's hilarious.
I'll check it out.
Bagpipes at 6 o'clock in the morning. The only thing I'm sad about is Scotland are getting all this credit, and I'm a little bit jealous as an Irish man. Normally we're the ones doing this because our fans are mental as well. And I think US were missing the fact that imagine the Irish fans and the Scottish fans were in the same city. It would be mental. It would be insane.
Oh, it would be. It would be.
Check it
Brawls-
out, though, man.
brawls
The
galore.
stuff
Yeah.
is absolutely hilarious online. Like, it's really, really. And on like, I'm not a baseball fan, right? So, I've been at baseball games. I just drank most of the time, but but it actually made baseball slightly interesting for me for about 5 minutes with the fans here. So, for any other non-baseball lovers out there, just check it out and you might enjoy it. But
By the
listen,
way,
Ben. Sorry,
just before you do go, I've become a White Sox fan. Jesus,
They're
great
tearing it up.
They are great crack. I was watching that game at 3:00 in the morning when I couldn't go to sleep. Brilliant.
There you
Some
go.
loads of Japanese lad, or there was another lad they had that was he's only just after arriving off the side of the field and hits a home run to win the game and celebrates like he's just won the Super Bowl. Brilliant. White Sox fans have had a terrible for the last I don't know how many years. So go on the Sox.
Nice. And also, it's the Pope's team, so you've got God on your side as well, I'm pretty sure. So
Yes,
there you
sir.
go.
Yes, sir.
Happy days. Happy
The
days.
Pope on the side. Yes, sir.
All right, Ben, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll catch you soon, man.
All right, it's a blast. You guys are the best. Hey, keep up the good work. We'll keep tuning.
Cheers, mate.
Appreciate you,
Have a good
brother.
one.
All right, anytime. Bye.
And that was Ben. Good to have him on. So, what you got planned for the rest of the week? Anything interesting?
I'm doing nothing. Actually, no, I am. What am I saying? I'm going out. It's midsummer here in Sweden on Friday, so we have the day off. So basically, I'm driving down Thursday night and I'm drinking a lot.
Tell us about Midsummer. What happens at it? For folk that are not Swedish.
The best way I could put it is the Vikings basically, when they invaded all the countries, came back to Sweden with, I don't know, a big pole with you can imagine what they think it's like the pole is meant to explain. But they come back with a pole, put it in the ground, and they all dance around it and do weird dances. It's actually a little bit mental and a very, very Scandinavian. But more importantly, I'm going out with my good girl friend, and we're going to go and get very drunk with her friends up north a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. Watch a few of the football game or soccer games, whatever way you want to call it. And then I'm just waiting for us to talk next Monday, because next Monday, we have the fan show.
Yes.
And we've already got 5 of our regulars who have confirmed they're going to do it.
I love the fan show.
Oh,
It's
you
so
don't?
much fun. We've got like 8 people on the screen. Everyone's putting their 2 cents in. Everyone's getting their opinion across, because everyone's opinion should be heard. That's what we're all about, is trying to get everybody on a chat Bears as much as possible. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So definitely tune in for that one next Monday. And Anne, is it your birthday at the weekend as well? Am I right?
No, it is, yeah. Old man Morrissey. That's what I call myself. Yeah, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to tell you what age I am. It's north of 40 anyway. Let's put it that way. Very north. Closer to...
Interestingly, I only found out the other day that Aunt's birthday is actually the same day as my daughter's birthday as well. So double celebration that day for definite, man. But there you go.
100%. Maybe I'll get some of her hair.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. As Ant mentioned, we'll be back next week for the fan show. If anybody else wants to get involved, we can have as many people on as possible, so give us a shout. Also remember, head over to Calibrand.com, get one of these fancy hats, but you can also enter our competition and do the same thing. But listen, guys, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Until next week, bear down and look after yourselves.
Bear down, baby.